And we are live. Hello, everyone. This hour on VerbLink, the next in my Business Basics series, this is the class where we try to cover the basic expressions you need in different business situations. Ooh, that's really loud. Sorry, I got to just mute you for a second, son, because we're getting lots and lots of noise in the background. You can turn your microphone on in just a second. Okay, so just keep that off for just a minute. Let me just do the introduction and we'll get started. I'm John Eric, your VerbLink teacher for this hour. I'm an American teacher from New York, coming at you today from Lisbon, Portugal to bring you this class. And you'll see my name in the chat window in just a second. Let's see. And there you go. By the way, of course, as I always tell you, if you click on the link in the VerbLink chat window, it'll take you to my profile page where you can follow me and see all my upcoming group classes. As well, you can schedule a private tutoring class with me while I work with you on a personalized learning plan to help get you to your goals as soon as possible. So that's a bit about me, and I didn't really talk about the class. In this class, which is about a self-made business person, you'll learn new words about entrepreneurship, about your abilities, talking about your CV, about your aptitude for different careers. You'll learn these words and you'll apply them to a mini job interview and an aptitude test, and we'll role play the parts of interviewer and interviewee to find our own path to entrepreneurship. Because in the article that we read last week, we looked at how someone was able to make a drastic career change and go into business for himself. We'll talk a little bit about that if you haven't read the article, okay? So let's get started. Here is the slide, the presentation, I mean. And if you want a copy of this, you can click on the link in the chat window. Last week, we read this article, which you'll see on, here, on slide 4 and 5. We read this article, which is pretty short, about this guy, Robert Mitchell. If you weren't in the class, no problem. We're going to talk about it, and we're really just going to use that as a way to talk about your CV and your experience. Okay, but I will share with you some of the key vocabulary words if you haven't read the article. So let me just say hello to everyone first. So welcome back, Rohan. Nice to see you again.
Thank you, teacher.
And welcome back, Sun. Nice to see you out there. Is your microphone on?
Yeah, hello. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Working. Very good. Okay, good. And let's hello to Saiban. Hello, Saiban. How are you?
Hello, teacher.
Okay, excellent. We're all here. I guess there's some other people who will join us a little later. But for now, let me just ask you a quick question. Were any of you in the class where we read this article last Monday? Were any of you in that class?
Yeah, me.
Ah, great. So, Rohan, if you don't mind, could you just give a little summary to Saiban and Sun about what the article was about and about how Robert Mitchell became an entrepreneur, from what you remember?
Yeah, so what I remember was that the article was about this guy, Robert Mitchell, and he started very early on with his business by selling, I think, Christmas cards, and
That's
then
right.
later on he went and I think he repaired artworks. So he bought artworks and he repaired them.
That's right.
And yeah, after some time he became a very rich man. And the article is more to convey that he had the guts to make a career change without knowing if he would succeed or not.
That's
what
right.
I remember.
That's right. And did he succeed?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
He did succeed. He's one of the most famous art restorers in the UK, maybe the world. So he's not known to the public, but he's known to artists. and he's known to museums, and he gives talks. And this is all pretty remarkable for a guy who didn't go to school. He's got no education. He was too poor. How old was he when he was selling postcards or Christmas cards? How old was he? Do you remember?
Very young, maybe 6 or 7.
Yeah, very young. He was really a kid. I think he was 9 actually.
Okay.
I think he was 9, something like that. But he was very young, and he had been working his whole life. I don't think he even really had an education or much of an education because his father was killed in World War II. So his mother had to raise them. At that time, it was very hard for women to work, and there was no work. It's not like, they had to rebuild the country because it had been bombed so much. So it was a big mess to grow up in. Plus, he was already poor. So in the last class, we talked about that, and we made a word wheel. And I want to show you what that is, Saiban and Son. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and I want you to take a look at not only is this useful for the article, but it's useful for you. It's a great way to brainstorm when you need to talk about a new topic. So if you give me just a second, I'm going to share my screen with you, and you'll see our word wheel from that class. Okay, there you go. Can you see it okay? Everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we looked at Robert Mitchell's story, and we connected words from the text and words that we knew as well to the word wheel. You have to put a central topic in the middle of the wheel, and you have to try to come up with words going around it, like a clock. Okay? So, for Robert Mitchell, his job words at 12 o'clock was electrician. Now, these were not all related to Robert Mitchell. They related to also the business that he created. It's not just about him specifically. So these were all words that came up in a text. What I'm trying to say is, if you read a text, you can collect words like this, attach them to a topic so that they're easier to recall later. It's much easier than trying to learn them individually. So when you want to talk about jobs and positions, you've got a great set of words here already. Electrician, assistant, general manager, conservator, that's what he did for a living. He was a painting conservator. Foreman at a factory. Artist, they talked about artists. Oh my God, I can't say it. Craftsperson. There we go. That's a person who is good at a particular skill, usually with their hands, or a skill that can be taught. There's coach. He coached other people on how to preserve their work. And speaker, he became a kind of a public speaker as well. The other word wheel, ways of describing people. The kinds of people that were mentioned in the text. So again, we have speaker, another kind of person, the relationships between people, colleagues, business contacts. I'm going counterclockwise now. He had a co-founder, a partner. At the very beginning of the text, he was described as an ideas man. Then we added a few words of our own that were interesting, some adjectives like being inventive as a way of describing a person, being creative, hard-working, and meticulous. Not all of those were from the text, however. Okay? So what I'm showing you is read a text and gather the words in a meaningful way, in meaningful topics. Keep a notebook where you do this. Keep the original text and keep notes like this. It's a lot easier to use those words later if they're already grouped. You could then go to different texts and add to your word wheels. Maybe you pick, I don't know, 10 different texts. Each set of words is a different color according to the text so that you can remember where they came from if you want to look them up. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but I'm suggesting a way for you to organize your notes. Now, we're going to create a word wheel with all of you as well in just a second. So keep this in mind. before we do, I want to look at one more thing we did last week, which was this. We also looked at Robert Mitchell's CV. And what we did was filled in the details, and we turned the parts of his CV into questions. So we have these questions. For example, date of birth. What's your date of birth, or when were you born? Hobbies at the bottom. What's your favorite hobby? What sorts of pastimes do you have? What do you like to do in your free time? So this is something else you can do. You can take information like this, like a form, but turn it into questions. So you get to practice filling in the information, and you get to practice asking the right questions. Okay? So what I wanted to do today is what we didn't have time to do in the last class, which is have you be the one filling in these sorts of answers. Okay? And I've got a little aptitude test for you to take. So what you're going to do is the following. You are going to create a word wheel for your area of business, or the area of business you'd like to go in. You're going to fill in the information for your CV. I'll give you a blank one of these. Okay? And then we are going to do a little interview of each other based on this information. So think about this for just a minute. There's one other thing I'd like to do, which is I want you to think about how you would move into another area. So like Robert Mitchell did, and you know, it takes a bit of courage, but we can start by talking about where you might best, what area you might be best for you. Oops, we've already lost Saban. Bye, Saban. I was hoping to talk to you. Maybe he's just having a connection problem. Who knows? So what I want to do is I want to give you one more thing that we can use to have our discussion here. Give me just a second. I'll put it on screen for you. Give me just a moment. I'm going to give you a link, but I'm also going to share my screen with you. Give me just a second to open this. Okay, here it is. Okay, so let me share my screen with you first. Oh, hold on 1 second, please. One moment. Okay, here we go. So before you think about taking a leap into another area, you need to know more or less what area would be good to do. So I've got a little aptitude test for you to take. We're going to discuss it as a class. First, let me ask you, Rohan, have you ever thought about becoming an entrepreneur?
No, not really.
Now's your chance. What's an area, if you could be self-employed, what's something that you think you would be worth trying out, taking a chance on?
Art.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What kind of art? What would you do?
Writing novels.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to write?
I have a lot of ideas, but the trouble is I speak 3 languages, and I'm not good. I'm good. Yeah, I can speak them, but I'm not very good at writing in neither of them. So that's my problem.
But what about your native language?
No, that is Dari. I was born originally in Afghanistan. I can speak it, but I cannot write in that language. And my second language, I grew up in Europe, in the Netherlands. I can speak and write in the Netherlands, but again, not so well to be able to write a whole novel. That's why I'm also now learning English. It's a little bit easier to write, I think, a book in English.
Have you read Let me think. What's a writer that you particularly like? Do you have a writer that is interesting, that you think is particularly good or inspiring?
Yeah, I like Dan Brown. I like him a lot.
Okay, that's a good example.
Yeah,
It's
Stephen King.
a good example. Dan Brown's a good example.
Yeah.
Do you think that the English he uses in his novels is, how would you say? Would you think it's difficult English? Easy English?
No, very difficult.
Very difficult?
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Really?
Not at all. Not at all.
Oh.
Not at all. Here's the thing about Dan Brown. I have to admit I have never read Dan Brown, so I can't talk about. I've read excerpts, but I've never read an entire book by Dan Brown. Just because I'm not that interested in the topic. It's not that he's good or bad, I don't know. But I can tell you something. He started to write the way he wrote because he had the same feeling that you are talking about. He had the same problem that you have. He felt like he said that he felt like he couldn't use the language well enough to be a writer, but he wanted to write. And so he decided one day, actually he had a little bit of inspiration by another writer, but he realized that if he focused on the story and not the words, it was a lot easier for him. And then he changed the way he was writing, and he wrote kind of action stories. And that's how he developed his style. That's something that I actually know about him.
Oh, great.
What about a classic? What about Kafka? Have you ever read Kafka?
Oh, yeah. That is my main interest. If people like Kafka or I don't know others. Tagore. Do you know Tagore? Rabindranath Tagore?
I don't know.
Or
no, maybe not. Maybe not.
Essay. I forgot his forename. Wrote a book called Siddhartha. Essay.
Oh, Herman
Essay. Yeah, people like that they write kind of a spiritual book. That's that I like the most, and that's also one of my goals in life. Maybe in 10 or 20 years, but I want to write something like that.
Tagore won the Nobel Prize, right?
Yeah, he won a Nobel. Yeah, for his other book, not for Siddhartha.
No, but Tagore also won a Nobel Prize. Tagore.
Yeah, both Tagore won a Nobel Prize, but also Hermann Hesse.
Right. Yes. Okay. Yeah. All right. But I mentioned Kafka because there's the guy who was not able to write in his own language because of the political situation, and because he had to write in German just for practical reasons and political reasons. So he wrote in a language which was not his native language. Therefore, he had to simplify his style, right? He had to simplify it. He had to write kind of in pictures and situations. But as a result, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just a coincidence, but it's something incredibly universal about his writing, because he had to create kind of big images. Everyone can picture a giant beetle. So think about that. It's about the strategy you use too.
Yeah.
I don't want to ignore everyone else. I'm just curious what the rest of you think as well. So Saiban, how's your connection? Is it working? Saiban? Are you there, Saiban? Maybe Saiban's having connection problems. Hello, Saiban, is it working now? Hello?
Sorry, teacher. I had some internet issue. I think it's working right now. Sorry about that.
So, Saiban, have you ever thought about becoming an entrepreneur, or is there an area that you would like to take a risk and try?
Yes, I really like it, especially in my city. There's a lot of untapped market. I really would like to participate, or take advantage of this untapped marketing. So if I just give example, if you don't mind, teacher, I will
Please
give
do.
Okay.
Like what?
Okay. Here in my city,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have online marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no online marketing. People cannot buy the the product via online.
Mm-hmm.
I really would like to create like a website like Amazon or eBay and offering online marketing for my people here in this city. I try and I desperately try, but the issue is people in here they don't trust the bank, so they
Right.
don't deposit their money in the bank. You have first of all to persuade people to buy a credit to open let's say account in the bank or to having account by offering them gift card like a credit card creating for them, and then after that I think will be helpful to, I mean, will give you a chance to start a business here in this city.
Where are you located again?
I'm located in north part of Iraq. The
Right.
part that I am live, it's safe. It's not the rest part, like rest part of Iraq. There's many company here. We are safe. Thank God that we don't have ISIS here. And still, our region is semi-independent from the rest part of Iraq. There are many company, a really big company. They came to here and they started to investing their money here in this
Right.
part of Iraq.
Right. And does everyone have access to the internet?
Yeah, it's really accessible and people really like. I will be more specific that in my city, people they are crazy about the clothes, the fashionable clothes. So if you offer them the clothes via internet and you update it like Zappos, there's a site called Zappos. It's very good. It's being very successful, and they are just like offering for the customer the more fashionable clothes. So if you offer the people here the clothes, they will really like it, and they will buy it from you. And there's hopefully, I'm not sure, God willing, it will be 100 percentage profitable. I mean profit, but you need a really a good strong retailer here.
Mm-hmm.
So we have many retailer here, but you need a really strong retailer to support you and somebody who really know the domestic market. So will just control the customer brain.
Well, it's a little bit out of my league. I don't know what to say. It sounds like you have a good idea about what to do. What you need is a business plan,
Yes.
and all you have to do is show. You don't even have to show that you're going to make a profit. You know, all you have to do is show that you can recoup the money. Do you know what recoup means?
No, teacher.
Recoup. Look in the chat window. The word is recoup. Money like this. Recoup stands for 1 second. Let me see if I can put it in the chat window. Recoup is short for recuperate. Recuperate. But we say recoup. That means the investor gets back the initial investment.
Yes.
I mean, all you really need to do is to make a business plan that shows that the investor can recoup. If you can, let's say, within 1 year, they'll recoup a $100,000 investment, okay, or something like that. After that year, they know if they stick around, they'll begin to see a profit of some kind. So the important thing is just that you have that business plan. So I think that's what you need. You need to work out a business plan, and then go to. If people are investing, then there's got to be business angels or venture capitalists who are there too. There must be, because if companies are there, there's people out there looking for opportunities. So you've got to focus on your business plan. Are you working or are you in school right now?
I'm a graduate student in the United States. I came back to Iraq for a few months, and then hopefully, God willing, I will go back to United States. I'm studying MIS currently, Management Information System, and I have a plan to buy a server from Amazon, but it's really hard, teacher. It's really not easy.
Do they have servers in that part of the world?
Yeah, no. When you create the website, you need a server. So instead of other company that is not guaranteed, they don't have a warranty. The Amazon is offering a part of their server, so you can participate with them. Buying their server and paying for them, so it has more a warranty, or let's say guarantee for your business. But it is as you said, you have to think very carefully and having a business plan.
Yeah. And where did you study in the States, by the way? Where were you? Did the master's?
Yeah, in Scranton. You recommended me 1 year ago when I participated during your class. I told you that I'm in Scranton. You say go back to Iraq. It's better than staying in Scranton. I remember this from
What do you think? Do you think it's true?
Yeah, it's true. I totally agree with you.
Scranton's terrible.
It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Yeah, unfortunately, but
wow.
What should I say?
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't ever take my advice. Don't ever listen to me. What do I know? Joe Biden, I think, is from Scranton.
Yeah. He visited Scranton. Yes, exactly. You're right.
I think he was born there. There's a lot of, yeah. Okay, so now you're in a better place with more opportunities.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
Very good. Very good. We've got some other people. Let's just say a quick hello. Hussein joining us too, and David. Hello Hussein. How are you?
Hello. Thank you so much. I'm doing fine. How about you?
I'm pretty good. So we're going to be doing a little kind of a role play in a moment, and we're going to be building up some vocabulary that will help you talk about your entrepreneurial idea. But first, I'm curious, if you were to become an entrepreneur, what kind of business would you create for yourself, Hussein?
Maybe I would create a company on idioms, maybe selling some programs and other things to learn another language. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm really interested in learning languages, and I think there are a lot of people who are trying to learn another language, and it's a good idea to create a company on idioms, on learning idioms like Wordling, maybe.
But idioms means something else.
Oh, yeah. I mean languages.
Languages, right?
Yeah.
Because idioms for us are like expressions, right? Idioms for us are like phrasal verbs and expressions. So
does it mean language in Spanish? Idioma?
Idioma, yes. Yeah. Idioma means languages in Spanish, right?
I got confused.
But you've got one problem then, Hussein. You've got one problem, which is that how are you going to make money doing it? Because, for example, look at the apps that are popular right now. They're all free. Pretty much.
Looking at what?
Look at the apps. Look at the language learning apps that are out there. They're almost all free. So, how are you going to? What's your niche? What's your niche market, Hussein?
I really don't know, but I think it's a good idea to create a job on languages. But I really don't have a business plan. But I think it's a good idea. It's just a good idea, but I don't know. I really
Because
Don't have a business plan.
for example, have you ever used Duolingo? Do you know that one?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Did you
not
use
that
it?
good.
What did you use it for? For English?
You know, I was trying to do it in Spanish, I think.
In Spanish,
Yeah.
yeah. So they make money by selling translations to companies. So they get people translating for free. Then they use that to create the app for free. They get lots of users who then can perfect the translations when they report mistakes, and they also can translate for free and get some points. Then those translations are sold to other companies. So apparently, and plus they have investment. So, but that's how they're making money. So it's good, but you have to have some kind of niche, I think. Anyway, I think that's a good example because I agree with you. It's not perfect, but it's free, and for something free, it's pretty good. For a free thing, it's not bad at all. I'm not a big fan, only because I think that they could have better quality in some of the languages. Because I did it with Portuguese, and the recordings are very bad, and it's only Brazilian Portuguese, and I was learning continental or European Portuguese, little things like that. But still, it's free, and I definitely learned something. So I think that's the trick. What can you do better than the others, and how can you compete with all those free apps? That's what comes to my mind, anyway. Let's also see what David's up to. Hello, David. How are you? Hello, David.
Yes, hello, how are you?
Very good. Oh my God, what a speaking voice. Hello, David.
How
Is
are
it
you?
David or is it
Dave.
David or David?
Both. In Spanish is David,
Right.
and in English is David.
Where are you from?
I'm from Peru.
Yeah, we were here before. That's what I thought. So I know what your entrepreneurial idea is.
What is it?
You're going to be a game show host.
Yes. How do you know?
I don't know how I know. It's just an idea. Come on down for The Price is Right. I don't
Yes,
know. I have no
for
idea.
sure. No, I think my niche will be international tests, like at the TOEFL or the IELTS. That's
Okay.
what I'm thinking about doing in the future, and also pronunciation, because in English, as you know, is not a phonetical language. So we have to, it's very hard to know how to pronounce a word. So, and there is not, I mean, I have done some studies on this, and it's
Right.
still not a very good material for people who are learning a second language. There are patterns that you can follow, but there's 1,000 exceptions for those patterns. But I ran into this book that if you learn this 70-something rules, you will be able to pronounce words in English accurately 95% of the time.
Really?
So,
What book
yes,
is that?
it's called The Logic of English.
The Logic of English. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never heard of that. And
Yeah,
there's 70 rules you have to learn.
It's more than 70. You have to learn, and but it's a material for native speakers, not for non-native speakers.
Oh.
So I need to just adjust it for native speakers, because before this book I have been done some work, some research, and I have created some materials. I already have some materials, but I need to just sit down and kind of redevelop, with a new idea that this book brings. So
you and Hussein have to get together, because you both
I think
want
so.
to create language apps or language.
Right. So these are two ideas. The first one is the pronunciation, because pronunciation in English, as you know, is hell. And number two is the some material, not material, but maybe some help with the international test, like at the TOEFL and the IELTS, and maybe even the Cambridge examinations, which they are very hard.
So what's the entrepreneurial idea? To create an online website to help with test taking, or what's the idea?
with the I have the my idea is clearer with the pronunciation materials. It's create materials and also create exercises because we need practice. The thing is with pronunciation is practice, so we can memorize those rules. I know there are 70-something rules. Yeah, it's going to take some more time for you to remember those rules, but eventually you will be able to be confident when you are reading something or when you want to say something. Because now, with the books that we have now, they give you little patterns, but there's hundreds of exceptions for those patterns. So when you say a word following those patterns, they say, "Oh, sorry, it's not wrong. It's French," or "No, we pronounce this way." And like it's always very frustrating when you learn a pattern, and then you go and you say a word following those patterns. You say, "No, we don't pronounce that way. We pronounce this way." You say, "Oh." So it's like kind of sabotage your learning, and you don't feel confident anymore. Should I say this way? Should I say this way? Right. So yeah.
There's but when you say pattern, do you mean a pattern that comes from the origins of the language that explains why the spelling is different than the pronunciation?
Well,
because there was a guy.
It's a combination of. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Just because he was not a linguist, but he was a teacher who created a system like that 100 years ago, and it's still pretty good today. He's gone, and the attempts to revive it, there's very few people out there who know about it.
Is that phonics?
No. He was a Latin scholar, and he tried to. He had a system to help you understand why the Greek and Latin spellings of English could be pronounced in different ways to get you aware of the patterns. I don't remember his name, and I don't remember the name of the book, but it was a method, and it was very effective because most people don't have that linguistic background, so they can't understand why there's these different sounds which have historical roots behind them. So it was about the history of the language, but he turned it into a method for kids in schools because he was a headmaster of a school.
Gotcha.
If I can remember his name, I'll let you know, but I can't remember offhand.
Right.
So are you describing something like that, or is it?
Well, yeah, something that is practical for people, for non-native speakers. So you come to this way, you say, okay, we're going to study this sound. The sound the sound can be written in this form.
Right.
Boom. So we practice that. And it's okay, but also can be written in this form. Ta, 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 ta. So you can have those patterns in your head to say, okay, and you have to memorize also the words that are more common with these patterns. So you know that if you have this combination, like for example, EA could be pronounced like an A, like an E, like an A. Depends on the context. So you can give it more like a reference. If you usually when they come together in this situation, they pronounce this way. So practical tips, because there's a lot of exceptions. So you say, okay, this is the reason we pronounce this here this way and not here the other way because of this. Maybe
is this the book you're talking about? Look in the chat window.
The Logic of English. I think that's the one. I'm not sure. I think it's the Logic of English. I think that's the one.
That's the only one I can find.
I think maybe that's the one. Or maybe yeah, I think that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Yeah. Or if it's another one, send me a message because I'd like to see it.
Right. I will. Because I bought it in fact this year, but I'm moving, so I pack everything. And because I have been moving and doing all this stuff, I just put it aside. When I get to my destination, then I'm going to pack again and start working on that project. And I think
that's it, because I'm looking at the table of contents, and it has
what it says there. So
it has the building blocks, phonograms, the building blocks of words. Foundation of consonant rules, foundational vowel rules, the mystery of the sound. Yeah, it looks very practical. Yeah.
It's practical. Yeah, I know. But the only thing that isn't practical is that we have to memorize this 70 or 70-something rules. But it's going to take time. Of course, it's going to take time. If you keep in mind that kids in the United States, they study spelling and pronunciation for the for 5 years in school. So it's going to take some time, but eventually, by the time you finish, you will feel less frustrated with pronunciation and more, a little bit more confident when you were reading something. Say, okay, I think you know what I mean, because that's my frustration, and I think many non-native speakers go through that frustration too, and it's very frustrating and also undermine your confidence. It's very so.
It's almost like a conspiracy, like they don't want you to learn.
Exactly, like you feel frustrated, but I never give up, so that's good.
Well, then what you should do is, instead of looking at English, you should look at Chinese. Do you know why?
Why?
Because it's much more difficult phonetically, and they have probably more advanced techniques to teach it. So look at Chinese, and you might get an answer that will make English easier. I mean, that book that you mentioned is fine, but because what you have to do, look, in Chinese, for example, to say thank you, right? Right. But it's not 谢谢. It's 谢谢.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a really good example because you know the word, but you have to get your tongue, your tongue has to go there.
Right.
And that's really hard to teach people because it's something that we don't normally do in the West, to fold our tongue behind our teeth, right? But the moment you do that and connect it with what you're hearing, a little bell goes off. In fact, there's a lot of experiments where people who normally, populations, like Spanish speakers, for example, who normally can't hear certain sounds because they don't exist in Spanish. Spanish only has 5 vowels. Peruvian Spanish probably is richer than Castilian Spanish, probably. You probably have more phonetic in South American Spanish. But in classic Castilian Spanish, there's only 5 vowels. That means that people can't hear the difference between a and
and
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, I know. I mean, let's say it's something that also that most teachers don't understand, that
they're not aware of it.
Exactly. Yeah. They're not aware of that. If you cannot hear the sound, you won't be able to pronounce it. So, you have to come up with 3 more sounds out of 1 sound. So you have to create sounds that you don't. The worst part is that you cannot hear them. You cannot hear them. Even you can shout it at me, and you say, "I cannot hear you. I hear only this sound." So this is very difficult. And are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, anyways, but you're right about that. I mean, I also did some research on that. The teachers cannot. They're not aware of that you cannot hear it.
Sure, but there's research out there, language acquisition research, that showed that people can be taught it.
Right. Yes, that's true. Because you have to say, okay, now you have the pose of articulation and place of articulation, so you can do that and say, okay, put your tongue like this.
I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that, actually. Oh, by the way, I agree with you. That's the next step. But there's actually research out there that says that people, because they've done. By the way, we have to get back to our entrepreneurial topic.
Yes.
Just one quick thing. The research I'm talking about is people in a MRI machine getting a brain scan, and the brain literally doesn't light up when they hear sounds that are not in their phonetic system. So that proves, as best we can tell, that they really can't hear the sounds. However, in other words, it lights up generally, but it doesn't light up in the language area. However, the research I'm thinking of, I don't remember the university. The research, it's classic language acquisition research. It's easy to find.
All right.
Says that people given immediate feedback, like very quickly, can very, very rapidly learn to distinguish the sounds and then master them. The trick was that they have to hear 2 sounds, like ah and ah, and repeat it and find out immediately if they're getting it right or wrong. And if they get it right, and it's immediate, apparently there's some little mechanism in the brain that allows them to acquire it. it seems to have something to do with how fast they get the positive reinforcement. That's what it seems to be. But anyway, it's not. There's a lot of research like this. It's nothing hard to find, and if I find the university, I'll tell you. I don't remember. So, and then the next step is, yeah, tell them where to put their tongues so that they can do it right. I think that's physically how to make the sounds, because an accent is just putting your tongue in the wrong place.
Exactly.
That's mostly what it is. Well, listen. We've had a great discussion, but I wanted you to have a chance to kind of talk about your abilities and your aptitudes in this class and work on a little bit of vocabulary too.
Sure.
So, here's the plan. I'm going to give you a blank CV. We're not going to have time to do everything, but I'm going to give you a blank CV sheet. I'll show you what I'm going to do in just a second. Let me put it on the screen. Give me just a second. Yeah, let's go here. Forget about this aptitude test. It's going to take too long. I want you to take a look at this blank CV, whatever you want to call it, form. Form. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, and actually, let me see how I can do this quickly. What I'd like you to do is I want you to use the questions that we came up with. So let me actually put the other one as an example. Give me a second here. This is the one that we filled in at the end of the last class. Okay? With a variety of questions. What I'd like you to do is have a chance to talk about your idea or the direction you'd like to go in relation to your experience. I'd like you to have a chance to give each other some advice, kind of like what I was doing. So take a minute and think about your answers to those questions on the screen. Date of birth, nationality, current position, work experience, education and training, family, hobby, right? And take a look at some of the example questions that we worked out on Wednesday's class. Then what I'd like you to do is to pair up, and I'd like you to interview each other to talk about your experience and how it relates to the idea that you'd like to create. If you're having trouble with vocabulary, we can create a word wheel to help you, and that I can do on screen. Okay? So, take a minute, think about your answers to those questions first. Okay? And then we're going to go to Rohan and Saiban first, and we're going to try to do a 2-minute interview for both pairs. First Rohan and Saiban, and then Hussein and David, and then we'll reverse roles. So the questions are going to be: imagine for a second that you're the investor, and you want to know a little bit about the person. You're the business angel. You want to know a little bit about the person whose idea you're going to invest in. You want to give them advice. Remember, business angels don't just give money, they give advice. So you're going to be asking about their experience and then their idea and then giving your feedback. We're going to try this as a kind of speed dating idea where you've got just 2 minutes to kind of talk about your questions and answers and pitch your idea. So we'll do an example, maybe. So, for example, if you were the business angel, you might say something like, so, when were you born? Or could you tell me when you were born? I would say, if I was Robert Mitchell, oh yes, I was born on the 23rd of September in 1941. Oh, and so where were you from? Where are you from originally? Oh, I'm British. Oh, very good. And so on, until we get to your work experience. At the end of that, you're going to give a short pitch about your idea. Well, I was thinking of taking all of my experience working in the dry cleaning business and applying it because it's the same technology. I could use it and apply it toward art. Really? What's your idea? Well, my idea is that I could use the same techniques to clean and restore paintings. And then, as a business angel, you give your advice. So, I'm going to leave this on the screen so that you have some examples, but let's try our first pair. So Rohan, you're going to be interviewing Saiban, okay?
Yeah.
And you're going to get a minute to interview, and then he's going to get a minute or 30 seconds or so to give his business pitch about how his experience relates to his idea, and you're going to get 30 seconds to question him on that. Okay? So it's going to be 1 minute, 30, 30.
Okay.
Saiban, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Take it away, Rohan.
Hello, Saiban. What's your date of birth?
It's May 1st, 1988.
Okay. When were you born?
I was born in Duhok, Iraq.
Okay. What's your current position?
I'm currently a traffic commissioner, but I'm doing like a programming in the traffic department.
Okay. How much experience have you in your field?
How much experience do you have?
Do you have in your field?
Okay, I have 8 years as experience.
Okay, very good. So do you feel you know a bit about him, Rohan?
Yes.
Excellent. Saiban,
Yes.
you've got about 30 seconds to give a quick pitch about your entrepreneurial idea to see if Rohan will invest in it. It's
Okay.
got to be short and sweet.
Okay, Mr. Rohan, I think we have like a business plan for our entrepreneur. I mean, for our business. So it's like having online marketing in this city. There's a guarantee on our business. Would like we really like you to invest in our business, and
Because?
yes, because it is a very profitable business, and you are gonna get. I mean, it is guaranteed that you will have profit, but just one question. I mean, just one thing that our issue is currently to just fix the finance, the having a bank to trust, that we are trusting, and then we will do our best for this issue, and we really like you to invest your money in this business.
Sounds like not a bad pitch to start off with. Rohan, you get 30 seconds to follow up. Are you convinced, or do you want to know more?
Well,
what would you say?
Yeah, this plan sounds very positive. He said many times that we as a bank will also profit. In fact, he guaranteed that we will make a profit. I would like to invest, but first of all, I want to see the whole plan. And
What would you like to know about his plan to convince you now? What could he tell you?
Yeah, what's his business about, his business plan, and the amount of profit he expects in his first year, for example. What cost does he have, employees, amount of employees, things like that.
May I answer the question, or we don't have a time, teacher?
You're going to have to hold that thought for a moment.
Okay, yes.
Hold that thought. But Saiban,
yes.
I want you to take the role of interviewer for a minute, and I'd like you to be asking questions, in this case, to David. You've got 1 minute to find out a bit about him before he pitches his idea.
Okay.
You can use any of those colored questions to help you on the screen.
Yes. Hello, David.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Mr. David. And first of all, I might ask you, what's your date of birth?
Or, more simply, when were you born? Keep it simple.
When were you born? Yeah, I'm sorry. When you're born?
I was born June 2nd, 1967.
Okay, sounds good. And what's your nationality?
I'm Peruvian.
Peruvian. And what's your current position, please?
I'm a teacher. I'm a language teacher.
Okay. And how about your work experience?
Well, I have been working in the field for about 20 years.
Okay. And what's your education accomplishment?
I have done my BA and my BA and my master's in languages,
Okay.
teaching foreign languages.
Okay,
Thank-
good. Do you think you know a bit about him, Seban?
Yes.
Excellent. So, Mr. David, or Mr. David,
Yeah.
in 30 seconds, how could you convince Saiban to invest in your business? 30 seconds. What's the shortest, best pitch you could give him?
Foreign language students have this issue with pronunciation in English, and I came up with this idea to create patterns that are practical and useful so they can master and get confidence when they are speaking the language. It's an easy project. It's not, we don't have to invest too much money. Since it's going to be done online, so we can reach many customers all over the world, in the U.S. and all over the world. And since English is one of the most spoken language in the world, and phonetics is one of the hottest part of English, I think this is going to be a successful business.
Saiban,
Yeah.
are you convinced, or do you want to know more?
Yeah, just one more thing, please. Can you just add it to your project, not only pronunciation, even the other part of English, not concentrating on just one field?
What do you
Right.
think
Well,
about that?
the niche is, we're going to start with pronunciation first, because that's something that I have been researching for the last 5 years, and then eventually we're going to work on other different niches. Like, for example, I'm also thinking about investing in coming with products for international examinations, like the TOEFL, the IELTS, and maybe even the Cambridge.
So what you're saying is there's room to grow.
Yes, a lot of
Room
room.
to grow. Very good, very good. And by the way, the word niche, if I can show you something really quickly, we have to stop because I have another student waiting
Class.
and I got
Sure.
to do the next class. But if you hang on just a second, take a look in the chat window. Do you see what I wrote?
Yeah, niche.
Exactly. We've got this issue, which is in American English we say niche. In international English, it's the way the word should be pronounced, niche. So you've got two different pronunciations, but I want to show you one, niche. And
Niche,
I guess
yeah.
if I put that in British English, let me see if it changes.
Niche, maybe.
No, well, actually, the website
The
I'm using,
niche.
the website I'm using says it's the same. You can use this website, which is a great way to do a quick transcription into IPA.
Oh, IPA. Okay, cool. I use the Cambridge. They have both also English and American English and British English.
Right, but this one you just write the text and it translates it for you.
Oh,
instantly.
perfect.
So it's anyway, just to show you that there's more than one pronunciation of that word. All right, we're going to have to stop here, everyone, but it was a great discussion, and you had a little bit of practice talking about your ideas, okay?
Right.
What we can do is this. On Wednesday's class, maybe we can turn that a little bit more into a pitch if you're interested in getting some more practice. And maybe we can do one more class that I'll set up where we have really the whole class to interview each other, pitch the ideas, and get proper feedback. So I'll think about that, and I'll give you, maybe that'll give you a little bit more time. So Wednesday at the same hour. But I'll set it up. You'll see the description, okay? So
Okay.
good job so far. I'll be back tomorrow for 2 hours from 12 to 2 GMT. And tomorrow will be speaking skills and fluency fundamentals. Two
Wow.
different classes from today.
That's a
Bye
good
for
pitch.
now.
Bye.
Thank you so much, teacher.
Bye.
Had a great time. Bye.